Do you ever run into a situation where you try and calculate a birth date maybe off of a tombstone? So we've got, a death date, but it says they aged 72 years, 10 months, and 17 days. Have you ever tried to figure out exactly what that birth date is? I'm going to show you how to do that. And then over here on a census record, we have somebody who's 27 years old. We're trying to figure out an approximate birth date from that. I'll show you how to do that coming up next. Okay, so here we are on Elizabeth Miller, and this is her profile, and she has a Find a Grave record here that I had attached some time ago. And if we drill into the record on Find a Grave, and if, by the way, we're still on Ancestry, but it took us to the record from Find a Grave. And by the way, if you're new to genealogy, Find a Grave is owned by Ancestry now. So a lot of their records link there. So especially if you're brand new to Find a Grave, then know that all of the Find a Grave stuff is volunteer user input. So there is a possibility for errors, but it's a great resource because a lot of people build their family tree on Find a Grave. And so anyway, let's go take a look at this record on Find a Grave. So here we are on Find a Grave. It gives us a couple images. And so if we want to look at this image, we can drill into it. And if we want to look at it even closer, we can hit that original in the lower right corner and see what the original looks like. So here we can see this is Elizabeth. I know it's kind of hard to read, but this is Elizabeth, wife of Jesse Davis. She died November 23rd, 1896. Okay, so we have a death date, but we don't have a birth date. It said she aged 72 years, 10 months, and 17 days. So how do we calculate that date from 72 years, 10 months. So it's like when I first saw this, especially when I was a beginner, it was like, oh, this is way too much math. I tried to overthink it. Okay, there's 365 days in a year and blah, blah, blah. Forget it. Don't do it that way. There is a handout for this episode, and we're just going to walk through the handout. But if you want to pick it up, that would be for the channel members, the patrons, the Academy members, or you can just pick it up on the website at genealogytv.org/handouts. Okay, so to calculate this manually, if we were to do this manually, we would go, okay, she was 72 years old, so that brings her to 1824 as a potential birth year, okay? Then we take November minus 10 months. So November is the 11th month of the year, minus 10 equals 1, so that is January, okay? Then we take the 23rd, which is the day she died, the 23rd minus the 17 days equals 6. So theoretically, if we did our math right, she was born on the 6th of January, 1824. Now, if we want to confirm this, I'm going to scroll down to the next part of this page. There is a time and date calculator. So let's jump over there. So here we are on timeanddate.com, and there's a lot of different websites out there that have time and date calculators. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this information, we're going to plug it into the calculator. So here we have the starting date, which is going to be the death date. So we're going to say the month is November, the day is the 23rd, the year is 1896. I'm just going to type 1896 and hit enter. And now we're going to subtract the 72 years, the 10 months, and 17 days. So we're going to subtract 72, 10 months, and 17 days. I just typed it in. And the result says January 6, 1824, which matches the information we found up here, January 6th, 1824. Okay? So we got the same results. So sometimes that helps give you confirmation just to use the calculator. So that is a quick way that you can calculate a person's birth date based on how old they were or how long they lived from a tombstone. Hey, we're going to get back to that video here in just a moment, but I want to let you know that Genealogy TV has a website, a newsletter, and a Facebook page. Links for all of that are in the show notes below. All right, let's get back to it. Okay, so switching gears now, what if we have a census record where we have an age, but we'd like to calculate at least a rough idea of when this person was born? Well, we could simply subtract the years, but we can do a little bit better than that. So for example, here we are looking at Christopher Madsen. He's 27 years old. This is an 1880 census. So what I'm going to do, and I'm showing you this on Family Search because the one on Ancestry is a little faint and it's hard to read. So I found the same record on Family Search. There's another tip for you, because sometimes the images are a little bit better over on Family Search. Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes Ancestry has better images. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going back to our handout for a moment. So basically what I did, let me go back just one second. So while we're looking at this, if we take this image and we go to the top, the 27th column, right? And we go to the top and we look at the very top matter, which we always want to do. Try not to make you dizzy. There's some information. So you always want to look at the top matter when you're looking at your ancestors on a census form, or any record for that matter. So here it says, it was enumerated by me on the 19th day of June, 1880. And then here's the gentleman's signature. Okay, so here's the thing though. The enumeration date was June 1st. The official enumeration date was June 1st, 1880. And you can see that right here. The enumeration year begins on June 1st, 1879 and ends on May 31st, 1880. So in this case, you know, the official enumeration date is June 1st for the 1880 census in the United States. So always be mindful of what that is, because as the census taker is walking around, he is supposed to be recording a person's age on the official date of enumeration, not necessarily the day he was walking around. So he was going to be asking, how old were you on June 1st? Not, how old are you today, right? So if we go back down to Christopher Madsen here, he's 27 years old. His wife is 25. All right. So we're going to focus on Christopher Madsen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip back over to the handout. And this was the column header that was sideways. I put it so you could actually read it in the handout. But this, if you read the column headers that are sideways in there, this is the part where it says that the age at last birthday prior to June 1st, 1880. If under a year old, give the months in fractions, and this says 3/12 as a fraction, meaning if that person was an infant, they would have been born in March. Okay, so point being is don't use the 19th day of June. He's 27 years old. So Christopher Madsen was 27 years old on June 1st, 1880 is my point. Okay. We do not know if this person was born. Basically, long story short is the person that the age there, Christopher Madsen, was born 365 days prior to June 1st or on June 1st. His birth date is either June 1st, or subtracting 365 days from June 1st results in June 2nd of the previous year. Try not to make this complicated. So therefore, the date range for the person was June 2nd, 1852 through and including June 1st, 1853. Okay? So that is helpful to know if you are trying to calculate a rough idea of when this person was born. So now you know, assuming that the information provided was correct, that this person was born between June 2nd, 1852 and June 1st, 1853, based on that age alone. So now we have 365-day range from which to work from. Now you can use other records to help narrow that down. Later census records gave you the month. Sometimes you might be able to find a death certificate later on or something that may pinpoint a little bit more information for you. But that certainly is part of your correlation of evidence, right? So now you know that this information could be used to help go, okay, here's a date range for his birth. Other records show he was born in March or whatever. Okay, so that's tip number one. Let me show you something else. Make it a little easier. Okay, so here I am on chatgpt.com. And I'm under the 4.0. So the 3.5 is free, but it doesn't work right for this. I promise you. When I did the same calculation for Christopher Madsen with the whole 27 years and June 1st, 1880, tell me what the birth range would be, it came back with January 1st through December 31st of the previous year, but it didn't calculate June 2nd, which it should have. So the 3.5 does not work correctly. However, 4.0, which is part of the paid plan, does. So what I did was I plugged in this question. If a person is documented on June 1st, 1880 as being 27 years old on that day, what is the date range of his birth date? So I hit go and it comes back and it starts giving me some information. So it says, if a person is documented as being 27 years old on June 1st, we can calculate the possible date range of their birth date as follows. The latest possible birth date would be June 1st, 1853, 27 years before June 1st, 1880. The earliest possible birth date would be June 2nd, 1852, the day after they turned 27, making them 28 on June 1st, 1880. Therefore, this person's birth date would have been between June 2nd, 1852 and June 1st, 1853. This is correct. And so if you don't want to do the math or figure it out, or you just feel like you need confirmation, you can certainly jump over to ChatGPT 4.0, by the way, and give it a shot. How would you feel if you could resolve some of those brick walls in your family tree? Or maybe you're just getting started in genealogy. What if you had the skills to prove your family history, taking you back generation by generation, time and time again? Hi, my name is Connie Knox, and here at the Genealogy TV Academy, I help genealogy enthusiasts like you break down brick walls by learning smart research methods. I help you find the records and I help you get organized so that you can share your family history with your family and future generations. I do this through a monthly membership course. There are two components to this. Now, there is the self-guided platform where you can take the courses on your own time. And well, I'm adding one new lesson per month. And then the live Zoom meetings where you can watch a live presentation in the virtual classroom and participate in the discussion after the presentation. Now, if you can't make one of the live sessions, don't worry. All the programs are recorded and are added in the course platform following the presentation. So, are you ready to learn some new skills to help prove your family history, get organized, and break down some of those brick walls? All right, well, if you want to learn more, hit the Get Start button to learn a little bit more about pricing and how you can get signed up. All right, we'll see you in the virtual classroom. Keep in mind, there are a lot of date calculators out there. It's really not that hard. Just go from June 1st backwards 365 days. That would be June 2nd of the previous year. And it's not that hard to figure out in that situation. Sometimes you can overthink it. Sometimes it's just easier to have some sort of technology to help give us confirmation that what we're thinking is correct. And so, if you don't want to do the math, you can certainly use those tools, the time and date calculator, ChatGPT, and that kind of stuff. We'll catch you in the next video.